to Atooi Talks Episode 6, the weekly show where Jools and Perry talk about making games together and playing games together. I'm one of your hosts, Jools, and on the other side is Perry.
Hola.
Hello. And we have a very special guest with us this week, another Atooi team member, Phil.
Good morning.
Hi, Phil. How's it going?
Going well.
Thanks for joining us, man. It's good to see you, dude.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys too.
We've got the Atooi gang together. Fun! Actually, this is pretty much it for now, isn't it? I mean, I guess we have Matthew. That's true. Sorry, Matthew. We'll have Matthew on the show in the future as well. Mm-hmm. I don't talk to him much recently because he's so busy with other stuff. But yeah, we're a pretty tight pack right now. Well, I'm going to jump straight into the update, and then we can talk more about Phil specifics later. Oh, and we will. All right, update. What have we got on? So pretty much all hands on deck right now for our secret RBR game, which has been very exciting. So not much Hatch Tales to talk about this week, unfortunately. But don't worry, it's still going. It's a temporary break to focus on RBR. But that's been really exciting. We're in the final stages, doing lots of testing, finding lots of bugs for poor Phil to try and fix. And then another bug pops up, which we tell him about, and he pulls his hair out. And we
Phil's the exterminator.
We just keep going. He is the exterminator. But the good news is the last build we made is really freaking sweet. He fixed a lot of the sync stuff that we were experiencing. It was really, really smooth. So it's very exciting.
Because this is an online casual party game.
It is an online casual party game.
Mm-hmm.
And we had...
we're not syncing.
Yeah, we're not syncing.
We want to stay afloat.
We had an exciting meeting on Tuesday. I was going to say who it was, but I think I'll keep it mysterious, with a certain console manufacturer who we played with them online with a bunch of people on there with the Discord all playing together and stuff. And it went perfect. Thank God. It could have been a disaster, but it went amazing. It was a complete cluster F behind the scenes, but to him, it was perfect. So that's great. No, it wasn't really a cluster, but it feels stressful for us, right? We're trying to cobble everything together and get people online to play. And all right, great, he's here. You guys jump in, and we're going to jump in. And oh, what region you're in, and all the rest of it. He was completely oblivious to all of that, of course, which is great. But that's what was going on. And it was great. We played it. He had a great time. It was really good. It was super fun. And then the conversation went off after that. And fingers crossed. So that was good. So that is the big update for us. I mean, we're working on all kinds of different things as well, of course. But that was the big focus, I think, for this week. So that takes us smoothly into the questions, Perry, if you wouldn't mind.
So, Jools, this is from YouTube, from Jack Newell, Newell. He says, what challenges are there for creating something atmospheric and scary that are unique to a 2D environment over 3D?
That is an interesting question. I don't even know the answer to that, and that's why I wanted to pull that question in and put it out there, because I think it's going to be interesting for us to talk about. Because I think for me, when I think about us making another scary game in the future, I always lean towards 3D being the natural choice, even though in my mind I have dabbled with the idea of actually even doing a remake of Dimentium in 2D, just because I think that would be fun. But I've never really been convinced that would be as effective or scary as a 3D game. But that's not necessarily true. I just haven't put much thought to it. But I think for 3D, especially first person, and I suppose third person as well, I think for whatever reason it does feel more immersive. I think you can do more tricks and fun stuff with it, because I think a lot of scary stuff can be about what you can and can't see. It's about the camera. And with 2D, you're a little bit more limited. I mean, obviously you can obscure things with darkness and stuff like that, and you can have fun with it. But I don't know, 3D just seems more...
Yeah, scary's a little... It's kind of a vague term too, right?
Yeah, I think it was
spooky, or like like there's tension, or there's
and that's the thing, right? Is like, what is scary?
Yeah,
and that was the fun thing when we made Dimentium back in the day, was trying to figure out, well, what is scary, right? Like when you think of, there's gory and there's gross and there's jump scares, but is that really scary or more just thrilling? you know?
Yeah.
So that was fun for us back in the day with Dimentium. It was like, well, what is scary? And it was really kind of looking at movies, of course, and what are truly effective, scary movies. A lot of the time, it came down to a pretty simple formula, which relies on really great execution, is set up a credible threat at the beginning, whatever that might be. For example, the movie Scream. A very famous actress gets killed immediately at the beginning of the movie. Okay, wow, there's a killer at loose, and then we get back to Happy Land, and everything kind of, the movie kind of starts. But this is out there, this credible threat. So that means every step beyond that is something potentially dangerous could happen, which is really fun. And that was what was cool. What we try to do with Dimentium is you kind of, wake up in the bed, come out into the first corridor, and that weird, gross cleaver boss character, you see him at the end of the corridor dragging some poor lady along the ground, and the door's closed. And you're like, okay. And then he doesn't attack you. And you can go up to those doors and you can't get through them. You're like, oh, man. So you're kind of like worried, is he going to jump out? So that was kind of fun. So anyway.
Dimentium's rated M, right?
What are your guys' thoughts? Huh?
Is Dimentium rated M?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For blood and gore.
It's just for the
and
cover
violence.
alone.
Yeah. What do you think, Phil? What are your thoughts on horror? Because you're a big
the camera's a more important player in that 2D over 3D for horror, because, like you're saying, it's all about what you can see and what you can't see is what brings the tension to a game. So any 2D horror game like Clock Tower or Lone Survivor, they're going to be about, okay, well, I can see my avatar walking left and right, and I can't see what's beyond the edges of the screen. But if you're in if you're in first person or third person in 3D, you have a better shot at being able to decide what you're looking at, and that creates a bit more of player choice, but also gives you more of an opportunity to be wrong in that player choice instead of simply, oh, well, they're off screen. It's maybe I'm not looking the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ironically, with a first-person camera, your vision is more narrow, right, than a 2D game. 2D game, you can see the whole scene. First person, all you can see is that direction of this scene, which is really cool. Lone Survivor is a great game. Have you played that, Perry? It's really solid.
Haven't, but a game that I have played that I think is probably like, it's not like scary, like I'm terrified, but it kind of is more suspense, and is Kingdom. That game is it's totally side-scrolling, and you're basically building up your camp and then awaiting, you don't know what's that these things are going to attack you from the left and right at night. Great suspense. And then suddenly there's this gigantic enemy that is just tearing down your towers that you put so much effort into putting in, and just destroying everything. And that feeling is like, oh, like that's scary. I mean, that's probably the best example of a 2D game that's like been like scary, like, oh, like run away, trying to do something, so.
And even like when you think about, going back to 3D games, even Minecraft at night is pretty scary, thinking about, a creeper coming along, blowing up your stuff, or the spiders, it can be legitimately scary, which is awesome.
I think
which shows even the visual doesn't have to be.
The scariest game I've ever played is Chicken Wiggle and the spider levels when they jump down.
Thanks, Perry.
Those are scary.
So on to the next question. I'm going to ask Perry this one. What is your favorite phase of game development and why?
Probably when you have to play the game hours on end to squash all the No, I'm just kidding.
That's your favorite? Yeah.
My favorite is the prototype phase. I'm in the middle of that right now, and it's incredibly fun. And you can do so much. It's like at the beginning when you're setting up stuff, you can get so much done so quickly and test out all these different ideas, and all these ideas are just, because you can just dream as much as you want at the beginning. That's my favorite part. It's so you're thinking of all these ideas of what you can do. Oh, this, and then you get, you're being like, then you're referencing other games. You play a game. It's like, and as you're playing another game, you're like, oh, that would be perfect in my game. And that is just so much fun. I mean, I don't know if anything is more fun than that.
Totally. What do you think, Phil?
I do enjoy the prototype phase, because that's usually when we're kind of the loosest with what we're trying to do and figuring stuff out. And we're like, okay, well, what if we add this mechanic to this? And how does that mingle with what else we have so far? And I mean, we've made probably literally dozens of prototypes at this point just to test stuff out and see what's fun. And that's really enjoyable. And then we'll kind of dial down on one until it turns into a full game, and then spend weeks playing for hours on end to squash all the bugs.
Yes.
But yeah, having those early prototypes and then just kind of saying, okay, this is neat, let's put a pin in this and spend a couple weeks trying something new.
Totally.
As a programmer, that restarting process kind of keeps things fresh. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it keeps it interesting, right? Yeah, totally. I mean, the prototype phase is definitely the most enjoyable. Yeah, and I think, the antithesis of that is the QA phase, right? It's just like, ugh. You're playing a broken game. I mean, with the hope that it won't be eventually, and it's like, it's a test of will for sure. My God,
it is.
But when you make it through, and it really is the difference between a good game and a great game, right? You know, hopefully your goal has been to make at least a good game the whole time. So the bones are there, the potential is there. So at least it'll be a good game. But what you do in that QA phase and what you choose to fix or not fix or blah, that's the difference in pushing it to some other stratosphere where suddenly it can be the difference between selling 10,000 copies and 100,000 copies. It literally could be the difference in that, because then people unquestionably will talk about it publicly to people and their friends and so on. It can really take off. So it's important, but yeah, it sucks. It's a horrible phase. And I have a question directly for Philip. How did you get into programming, and when was that?
Do you guys know the answer to this?
No, that's actually why I put it on, because I actually don't know the answer to this.
Let's see. I'm pretty sure it was in like 2013, so it was pretty recent. But y'all know that I was a chiropractor and hated that.
Dr. Phil.
If I can leave one piece of advice to the viewers out there, it's don't be a chiropractor.
Why is that?
It's just, they didn't, as much as interesting and rewarding as being a doctor is, the business side of it is just misery, because you'll drive down the street and pass like 9 other chiropractors, and what are you doing different from them? Ugh. It's just hard.
That's
and
right.
You're all fighting for the exact same pinch of people who are willing to see you at all. But
oh wow, never thought about that.
Interesting.
Left that, went home. My dad was teaching computer science at a high school level, and I asked to borrow his curriculum. So he gave it to me, and 2 weeks later I was done. And he said that I had actually gotten further than his classes do in 2 years. Just teaching myself Java full time for that couple of weeks until I got a retail job that I could actually go home and practice programming as a hobby. Spent about a year just making a couple of mobile apps actually in Java. And then in 2014, I have part of one of the things that I do on the side is a charity streaming group. Every few times a year, we'll stream games on Twitch and raise money. And we did an indie-thon with Humble Bundle. And one of the games that was in the bundle that year was Mutant Mudds.
Oh,
and so I got to interview Jools for a couple hours and a few other people. One of my interviews was with Erin Robinson, who's now Erin Swink. She was the lead quest designer on Horizon Forbidden West. But at the time, she had just made a game called Gravity Ghost, which was a Unity game. And it was the first time I had seen Unity at all, let alone a 2D game that was made with it, because they didn't have a lot of 2D tools back then. But that convinced me that it was the tool to get into. So I went home from that and converted my Java app into Unity, and it took like a couple hours because it was so easy to use.
Wow.
And suddenly I had a mobile app for Android, iOS, and Windows Phone that I kind of spun into a bit of a resume and kept working as a hobby, got a job teaching computer science, and kind of turned that into working for Atooi.
Yeah,
because you posted a vlog where you said that you were starting to work with Unity devs, and I messaged you and was like, "Hey, I'm a Unity dev. I could do that."
And it's really fun how we got together, because we'd already kind of met briefly, and you'd reached out, and you were a teacher, teaching Unity, and I'm like, well, that's cool. So, and clearly, I mean, you're I think I affectionately think of you as a Unity nerd because you're really into it, right? You really kind of find all of the information about that program. And we love that program. We love Unity at Atooi. It's just great.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm a
every
full-blown
program.
Unitarian.
Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah.
Every program under the sun has issues. That's just a given. Even Photoshop, even the big, even stuff like that. So people will complain about Unity, complain about Unreal, blah, whatever. But at the end of the day, Unity, it's all about what you do with it, right? It's about how much work you put into it. But no, it was fun, yeah. And I remember we reached out and we started working together while you were still teaching. So it was kind of like a part-time fun. Let's just, see how this goes. And it was really thrilling when we had the opportunity to go, hey, you want to do this full time? And you're like, heck yeah.
We ported Totes the Goat over Christmas break. And that was because it was already in Unity, but it wasn't quite ready to be on consoles at the time. So over that 2 weeks, just kind of drilled down and made it a little bit prettier and widescreen and changed the controls a little bit and released it. And we're like, hey, that was great. Yeah, let's do that again. Let's do that all the time.
Beautiful. And I think the next game, was it Soccer Slammers? Officially as far as what was released? Right?
As far as what was released.
Yeah, I mean, I think we worked on about 10 other things in between those two games, but that was the one. Oh, hello, Mug. That was the one that got released, which was our first game that you got to work on or create from scratch, which was amazing. So awesome sauce. Well, good. That was good. I'm glad. That was good. It's good to learn about Dr. Phil over there.
Yes.
Sweet. So on to the next section, which is Pokemon Day highlights. The highlights from Pokemon Day, which was last Sunday, because we're all Pokemon fans, and that happened, and it was pretty exciting. And there you go. So I'll just give a quick things that I remember that happened. I'm sure there were other things that maybe you guys can pull out, but there was an update for Arceus, which was Daybreak, which I haven't even checked out. I know nothing about. And there was some new games mentioned. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Gen 9. Hello. Coming out later this year. That I thought looked great. It's exactly what I was hoping for. It looks like a cross between Sword and Shield and Arceus is what it looks like. And I couldn't be more thrilled. What do you guys think?
It looks awesome. Yeah, I don't know what it's gonna be. I'm still a little guarded. I love Arceus, but I don't know if it's gonna I'm just saying if the reviews are great, it's gonna be amazing. But it looks very, very promising.
Did you play Sword and Shield?
I did not.
Okay, that's right. Okay, yeah. So I mean, they did a really good job of that. It's pretty solid, So hopefully, if it's any similarities to that, yeah, it's pretty interesting, man. What do you think, Phil?
It has been good times for Pokemon gamers because, we had Sword and Shield. That's actually a few years old at this point. It seems like it was just yesterday, but we've had that kind of time dilation going on. But then we got new Pokemon Snap. We got the remakes of Mystery Dungeon, I'm pretty sure, recently.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then what people seem to be kind of having kind of a bit of a break with is Arceus is actually a spin-off. This feels like a new gen, but it's not. Scarlet and Violet are going to be the next gen. So the last mainline Pokemon game was Sword and Shield, and that's, at this point, the 2019 release. So this is about the right timeline for a new game. And what I'm mostly interested in, we also had Let's Go in that time, too. So just loads of Pokemon games on Switch, cramming them in there.
And the remakes of Pearl and Diamond.
Oh, yeah, and Diamond and Pearl remakes. So this is going to be interesting to see kind of what they've learned from all of those releases rolled into their next Switch game. Because Sword and Shield were good, but they kind of felt like it was their first outing, their first foray into what they could do with the better hardware than 3DS title.
It's like a
3DS title that was ported to Switch. And this feels like it could be their real solid Switch game.
Yeah, I mean, if it does.
Did you play Arceus?
Yeah. I haven't.
Oh, okay. It's pretty sweet.
I'm way behind on my.
It's pretty darn sweet, man.
Game backlog there.
Yeah, if they combine the catching gameplay of Arceus into basically Sword and Shield to create, Scarlet and Violet, that would be pretty sweet. And the art style is interesting. The characters, are becoming even more kind of that really elegant kind of anime style. It's very interesting. Like like almost not really Studio Ghibli, but just more. I don't know. There's an elegance to them. It's interesting. It's not quite as
Mm-hmm.
bold as like I just started to replay Let's Go Pikachu, and it has a really great cartoony style. Whereas Scarlet and Violet is very different. Yeah, it'll be very interesting.
I got
Call
a funny
me.
anecdote about
Oh
this
yeah,
game,
which
which
game?
is my buddy Aaron, which we
Yeah.
play Fortnite with sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
He was like the biggest Pokemon nerd ever, like the EV training and stuff. He was obsessed with Ruby and Sapphire,
Mm-hmm.
and he actually so much so that he named his firstborn daughter Ruby after
Oh
Pokemon Ruby.
wow!
And then and then he and his wife had another little girl, and he was thinking about Sapphire. And he's
Oh my
like,
gosh,
that's not gonna
it's too
work.
much.
So he went with Scarlet.
No
And
way!
so I texted him the other day. I was
Wow,
like, "You now
wow,
have two. Your girls are now named after two Pokemon games."
that's amazing. That's a great anecdote. I love that.
Yeah,
He had a premonition, perhaps. That's
yeah,
amazing. Um, Sweet. So the next section is I thought we'd chat about the Kirby demo a little bit because it literally dropped. Well, for us this morning, I don't know when it dropped,
yes.
but for us it did. I saw All N podcast on Twitter put it out. That's how I learned about it. Is it All In? What is it? How it is All In,
Mhm.
right? All In podcast. Yeah. Our good friends over there. And so yeah, we jumped into it immediately. What do you think, Barry?
Dude, it was so good. I wanted to stop playing. And what I mean by
Exactly.
that is that like I don't want to experience this anymore because I'm so jazzed about it. I want to get the full on experience. But it's basically everything I've ever wanted, which is there's just two things I've wanted and I didn't. And it's funny, before I downloaded it, I saw like I think a Nintendo Life was like saying like it's more Mario 3D World than it is Odyssey, and I was like, ooh. Like I saw that, but I go into it. There's two things I've always wanted with Kirby is a difficulty, like just let me play a harder difficulty,
hmm
and second, just limit the jumping. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then now we have it in a
they
3D
did both of
space, which
those
makes it
things, and it's
it's
gorgeous, right?
gorgeous and
Because
it's
the opening
awesome.
movie is super impressive, as they always are, right? I mean,
Yeah, Kirby production's insane.
always
Yeah,
incredible. The opening movie is visually incredible production. And super cute and charming as well. I love the buggy eyes they put on him in the intro. Really cute,
I love
really
how Kirby
funny.
just like starts like on like just
Just da,
getting on a
da,
star and just having a
whiffing
good old day.
around
That's what Kirby does
suddenly.
on his
Dun,
days
dun,
off.
dun.
Yeah,
And you're like, well, this is gorgeous. I'm sure the game will look nothing like this. But when it comes to the game, you're like, okay, no, this looks amazing. This is a very
yeah,
impressive production. And the game's just fun, man.
and
Yeah,
it
like
really is like Odyssey. It really
it
is. It
is. It's
feels
very.
like that.
I mean, the camera angle, I guess, is more similar to 3D World, so I
Yeah, it
can
has a
see that
stat. It has
connection.
this. Yeah,
But the gameplay and the art style is what I wish Odyssey looked like. It looks really great. It's consistent. It looks lovely. It looks HD. Is that
and it's
term
funny.
passe now? Probably.
It's funny because Odyssey really that gameplay is Kirby if you think about it. Like no one even really,
Yes.
but really the idea of
The,
instead of
the cap.
inhaling something, you're
hmm
throwing your hat at it and
Totally.
becoming something
It's
about.
very Kirby.
So they kind of stole that. Now it's going back to Kirby, which
Mm.
fits amazing. So
Do you know what we're talking about, Phil? Did you see that this morning, or do you know which game we're talking about?
I know what game you're talking about. I just
Yeah, the
I think it's
demo.
probably like just totally thrilling for Hal to be able to work on something that isn't Smash for a
Right.
moment.
And you
is it
can-
Hal?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you
okay,
can
so I
tell
didn't know
they've
who's.
been unleashed. I mean, that game. I mean, the art and the design in that is it's impressive. Like I say, they've nailed it perfectly though with the
Yeah,
jumping. It's kind of capped, and you can get. So Ollie's barking underneath there. There's a dog walking by. And capturing abilities and using them, and the demo is great. If anyone is even curious, definitely check out the demo because it's really fun.
yes,
Like I stopped in the middle of level 2. I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm going to buy this obviously, so I don't need to
oh
play. I
yeah,
think it's March 25th. I want to say it comes out.
yeah,
Close to my
and it's
birthday, by the way, just in case you were
oh.
wondering. March 28th.
There's a co-op mode too, which I want to
Yeah.
try out, and I'm wondering what it's like. I don't think you have a second Kirby. Maybe you do. Maybe you do have like a Waddle Dee. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
that'd
it
be
could be
interesting.
like more of a passive thing. That
Maybe a different color Kirby, maybe.
my daughter, my 2.5-year-old, she's sitting there with me this morning. Can I play? And I'm like, you might. We need to figure it out. But
Yeah.
this might be a good game for her to kind of sit there and
Yeah, I
play
thought
with
that's
because it
interesting.
is easy.
they present you with the hard mode and the easy mode.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I just played the hard mode because I'm like, yes,
Yep.
give me some gameplay because I know it's not going to be hard.
Exactly.
And it wasn't. So I don't know what the easy mode's like
I
because
don't know
the
what the
hard
easy
mode
mode
was not
is,
hard.
but
Love it, dude. Super excited.
Yeah.
It's the kind
Very
of world you just want to dive in and live in there, and it's really freaking nice. So,
and Phil, like I said before, like Pokemon Arceus was like my like re-entrance to the Pokemon. I mean, I've never hated Pokemon. I just haven't been interested in the last 10 years in Pokemon and the games that have come out. And like Pokemon is like, I was so surprised by Arceus. I love it. And now Kirby is like the same way. I've always loved Kirby, the character, the production, everything. The games have just been too easy that it just would never satisfied. Like my favorite last Kirby game was Epic Yarn or Mass Attack. I love those games. And I've loved Kirby. I just don't like the games. And now it's like,
you might like Rainbow Curse. It was for the Wii U. It was pretty good.
I did have that, but I didn't. I forgot about that one. That one was cool. But again, that's like a spin-off. I guess I'm, kind of, But anyway, it's really cool. We're starting off the year really strong with two franchises that I didn't think would be on my radar.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
love.
It'll be a strong year. Finally, everybody's catching up on on being working remote.
Us included, we've got a bunch of games coming out, which is exciting. So
heck yeah,
finally. So what games are we playing? I finally stopped playing Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. I got to the league, or whatever you call it, at the end, and I didn't beat them, but I got through a couple of them. Like, all right, cool, I'm good. This has been good. I liked it. I don't have to win it. I feel like I've already won because I beat the last gym.
I've already won.
I'm already ahead of the game. And Voice of Cards was calling out to me, so I'm like, all right, I need to jump over to that. So I've been jumping into Voice of Cards, The Forsaken Maiden, which is the second entry in that series, and it's just as delightful as the first one. Very slow burn, mellow, by the fire, sipping brandy, popping on a pipe kind of game. It's just very mellow, very cool. I don't do any of those things, by the way, but I imagine you could and enjoy it with this game. But it's great. I'm really enjoying it.
I'm definitely going to jump into this like when I have a good sale. I'm picking these games up.
Yeah, because they're $30, right? Which is it's a little steep.
Yeah,
I think it's $30.
I mean, it's just yeah.
I mean, coming out with a physical with both of those on it, that'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool. Yeah,
and it's Square Enix, so I mean, they can afford it. So.
And it's funny because I've been in RPG town with Arceus and then with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 going back in that. I'm still in that because it's like I'm like 40 hours in, which is crazy, but really enjoying that game still. But yeah, I don't know if I announced this I can't remember, but like 30 hours in, I finally understand what's going on with the game, with the combat system. It's like, I finally got it. And it took some researching and like, what exactly is this, And,
oh my gosh, how weird.
But it's great. Xenoblade is great.
I have been working more than usual, so I haven't had as much time to play games, but I do set aside time every week to do just a couple of rounds of Jackbox, which has been kind of correlating with
something
the field that we've been going for with our casual online party game.
What?
Maybe a little bit. And then also, like, horror games are always close to my heart, so I've been...
real quick, Jackbox then. So I've played You Don't Know Jack, and I know what that is. So what is Jackbox?
It's the same company.
Right, no, I know that, but how is it different than the original You Don't Know Jack?
They just kind of spun off and added more... It's more than just trivia now. Like, there are still trivia games. Like, there's really one that we play more frequently is a trivia game where it kills players if they get questions wrong.
Nice.
So, something like that. But then there are games where it's just like you try and bluff your way through questions. Like, it'll ask everybody in your group a question, and one person doesn't get the question, and they have to kind of fake their way through the answers. So those are lots of plays on that.
Yeah, very fun.
Figuring out
which one of you is lying, which one of you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Quiplash is a lot of fun too. Yeah, games where you just kind of try and make each other laugh.
Yeah,
that's fun. So clever. They're so well produced. I remember the first You Don't Know Jack when it came out eons ago. We were playing it on PCs that were called Pentiums and other kind of weird names at the time. A long time ago. Or 486, 666, whatever the heck they were called. Before the processors we have now, anyway. And it was just so well produced, incredible, good stuff. So what's the Phasmophobia? I haven't heard of that.
So Phasmophobia is a casual online multiplayer game, but it's a 3D first-person ghost hunt. And you can do it solo or you can do it with up to 3 other friends. And it really captures the low budget quality of like ghost hunting TV shows. And that's kind of where the charm of it comes in, because it has good scares, but most of it is, we're trying to make like $25 getting a photo of a ghost.
Right.
While trying not to die.
And it's multiplayer. You're there with friends kind of thing. Yeah.
Also a Unity game, also using like the similar online architecture that I'm familiar with. So
interesting.
It's quick and fun, and
I should check that out.
And a little bit spooky.
Nice. Very cool. And you had mentioned, like, I don't know if you'd said it or not, but in your last game.
Oh, and I picked up a PS5 earlier this year, and I'm trying to justify that purchase by actually sitting down and playing the game sometimes. But I have finally gotten around to trying out Death Stranding, the big Kojima. Here's the game that I want to make epic, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's more than I was expecting, because when it first came out, all my friends got it, and I remember hearing from them that it's just kind of like a walking simulator. You're just placing deliveries, and that is true. But it's more. There's a zen quality to it of just you solo trekking across the wilderness with boxes on your back, and it plays music over it, and it's just kind of like, oh, this is nice. And then suddenly, ghosts attack you, and you have to get away from them and keep yourself safe and keep the baby on your chest from losing it and crying and attracting more enemies.
It's Yoshi's Island. It's exactly
it's Yoshi's Island, basically.
Yeah, Yoshi's Island, but 3D.
Yeah, like Kojima stuff is so interesting. Like even though Metal Gear Solid's pretty quirky, that's probably the most normal game that he's made, right? It's like, because I remember he did. Oh my gosh, I forgot the name of it. Was it GBA or was it DS? Oh, I think it was on both, actually. That weird 2D game, I don't know if you guys remember, where you had to go out to the sun to charge up your weapon. Do you remember that? Thank you. Atooi. Yeah, isn't that weird?
I think you're right, yeah. It was Konami, at least. Yeah.
And that was a weird game, but it was cool, but really bizarre.
I didn't realize that was Kojima.
Maybe I'm wrong, but that was the impression I got at the time. And then the second one came out, and
the second one was on DS. I remember that too.
Yeah. So yeah, he's got some interesting, unique design thoughts, which is fun. But I need to check out Death Stranding.
Created by Kojima. You got that straight.
Keep on babbly bubbly.
Boktai, the sun is in your hand.
There we go. Sun is in your hand. The name. And the second one was like Moon something, wasn't it? I think.
The moon.
The moon is in your pocket.
The moon is on your foot.
Right. Awesome. Well, I think that does it for this week's show. Do you guys want to add or riff on anything else before we close out this week's wonderful episode? I should say here. Thanks for joining us, Phil.
Of course, yeah. Glad to be here.
It was nice to have a trio.
Now get back to work.
Oh, man.
Beautiful. I think on that note, we'll say goodbye. Until next week. Let's keep on babbly bubbly.
Toodles.
Take care.